Hey everybody, I'm Rick Wilson. Welcome to the strategy session. I'll be joining you with my withered monkey paw of a hand tonight, um, by Stuart Stevens and Joe Trippi. We are going to talk about Sleepy Don's courtroom misery. We're going to talk about Mike Johnson possibly losing control of the House even as early as tomorrow. We've got a lot on the deck, and we want to have a good show with you guys tonight. We'll try to take a few questions on the back end of the program this evening, but I want to start out by saying Donald Trump is trapped in the system now. And he's learning today that this judge is not playing around. He doesn't respond to social media pressure. He doesn't respond to 3 a.m. tweet storms or truthing or whatever else. This is a judge who has basically said to Trump, you're showing up in the courtroom. You're keeping your mouth shut until you're asked questions. You're going to behave. You don't get to run around and do what you want whenever you want. And I think today actually felt to me like Trump kind of realized finally that he's in the shit, that he's in trouble, and that he's actually not going to be allowed to stomp out of the room or roll his eyes or tweet threats at people or any of that business. So I want to start out with you, Joe. What was your take on the way the trial and the jury selection started to happen today, and then on Trump's affect and energy the last couple of days?
Two or three things. One, it's kind of like incredible that all the cable sat there all day long breathlessly reporting nothing because they couldn't there was no video, and they just kept sitting out there saying, oh wait, we'll have a report any second, which I just
Right.
think does play to Trump. I mean, it's all Trump all the time, a distraction. On the other hand, I think two things. One, that 7 jurors were already selected just shows how fast this is all going to. And then on top of that, the third and most important thing, Trump complaining about the judge wanting to rush this case. I mean, rushing to make this case happen. So it's clearly bugging him that 7 jurors got picked on, got chosen on day one in terms of
Right.
real jury selection, and that this thing is actually by tomorrow, I'm sure, or Thursday, we'll have 12 plus alternates, and this thing is ready to go. I agree with you. The judge is taking no prisoners here, no waste of time. We're going forward, and Trump clearly doesn't like it.
Clearly. Stuart?
I think sometimes we kind of overthink these things. I mean, if I just woke up in the middle of the night in 2015 and said Republicans have nominated a guy who's out on bail, who's been convicted by a jury in his hometown, found liable sexual assault that a judge calls rape, that is being tried now for paying off a porn star that he had sex with, I think, 10 days after his youngest son was born.
Right.
How do you think he's doing? I mean, it's like,
He's
and
doing
then
great.
I don't get this analysis that this is going to help Trump. I don't. I think it might help him with the people that already think that he's marching up to Calvary with some cross, but
Right.
that's 38% of the country. I just think
But
it's he's
but
on
Stu,
trial. Who wants to be on trial? I
Right.
don't think he's going to come out of
but
this.
but Stu, the real question here, as far as I'm concerned, is does it help him with one or two of the jurors? And if it does, and and they basically acquit him, or can't hung
Right.
jury. That's something he's clearly gonna. He's still until this
No,
plays out. I don't think we all know. That's
no, we don't. But what is Trump's defense? Trump's defense is that he is the first guy in the history of the universe to pay a porn star $130,000 not to have sex. That's the essence of it, because he says he didn't have sex. He admits he pays her $130,000, and he says it's not hush money. So he was paying her not to have sex. That alone should be disqualifying. If you're going to pay $130,000, you ought to get some sex out of it.
You ought to get something out of it.
something
if
out of
you're
it.
going to pay that much money. And as somebody pointed out today, it's rare enough for Trump to pay a contractor anyway.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But he never
look,
pays anybody. So, like, this one, they actually paid her. I mean, so that in itself says something.
Well, I think that though the thing that I'm most interested in right now is this restricts Trump's freedom of movement right now. This
yep,
stops Trump from,
every
you know,
day.
golfing whenever he wants, traveling whenever he wants, doing whatever he wants. I think there may be an impact we haven't quite calculated through yet on just how much this changes the way his campaign is going to operate for the next 5 months.
Yeah,
As we go into the summer.
I was thinking about this, Rick, about how many hours we've sat in rooms in presidential campaigns trying to decide what to do with the candidate. And,
Right.
it's the one thing that every campaign has the exact same amount of is time.
Time. Yep.
It's the one leveler here. So they've got 6 weeks here probably that he's required by law to be in that courtroom every day.
Yep.
Um, and that to take a candidate off the trail like that, and limit his fundraising, man, that is not good. It is a problem for these people. They can spin it
Per-
all they want. They can send out
Yeah.
all the mini
yeah,
me emails, but
particularly
man,
when particularly when he's sleeping in the courtroom too. I mean, it's
Well,
like
and
he's
that to me is like we've all had a lot of fun with that the last 24 hours of him sleeping today and yesterday. But I also think there's a part of this that if his a big part of his argument has been Joe Biden is old, he's weak, he's senile, he's drowning in a pool of his own drool, he can't stand up, he can't walk, and Trump can't stay awake while he's got these incredibly consequential cases pending in front of him. I just
not
find that really interesting.
not to mention it's a diabolical Biden plot,
Of course.
carefully crafted,
Right, right. He's a
ingenious.
senile old man who has somehow managed to suborn the entire legal system.
Yeah, it's,
yeah. I
but
mean, look,
hey,
it is a true statement that most people have never fallen asleep while on trial for paying a porn star hush money. I mean, that's just
I, for one, can certainly say that of
most
myself.
most most people if not, don't have that in common. Yeah, listen,
So
I think he looks. I think it wears on people to see this.
I
It's
think
kind
the
of
weakness
it
is
just looks weak. Yeah,
mhm,
I mean, he's a grown man and he can't go where he wants to go. That's like
right.
not a good thing, you know.
And and the other thing is, as somebody pointed out in the chat a little while ago, there's a real argument that Trump will not be able to keep his attention on this case every day, that he will end up having an outburst or storm out of court or some sort of self-induced drama in the weeks to come. As we know, he does not do well listening to advice from attorneys. So I can't
Yeah, I mean,
imagine.
isn't it possible to imagine a scenario where he at a certain point tries to blow up the trial, like get a mistrial,
hundred
but
percent.
like goes crazy in the courtroom and
I think there's a nearly 100% chance he tries to disrupt it so badly that he, essentially wrecks the jury pool or makes some argument that is so outrageous that it really does end up with a hung jury or a mistrial of some kind. I think there's a lot of dimensions where he could storm his way, through this thing in a way that really disrupted the possibility of a completed trial.
yeah. Look, I think the judge has done a really good job so far. But look, if, I would literally the next anytime he violates the gag order, it's like 50 grand, and the next time it's going to double, and the next
Right.
time after that it's going to double, and the
yeah.
next. I mean, it's just going to be like, go
Sure.
ahead, do your
Keep it
thing,
up. Keep it up.
keep it up, but it's going to be millions by the time we're done with this trial.
I mean, I know there's no chance we're going to end up with this guy ever spending a night in Rikers, but as I pointed out earlier today, I've actually been to Rikers once on a tour. When I worked for Giuliani, I said, "Oh, I want to go see Rikers," and they said, "Okay, well." So I went out to Rikers. It was Donald Trump would die just smelling the place. He would collapse and die right then and there just from the smell of bleach and urine and human misery in one place. And and I know we're not going to get that. I know we're not going to get the judge able to actually confine him or punish him that way. But I think, Joe, your method is correct. This is like, it's okay. It's 50,000 today. It's 100 tomorrow. The next one. We're going to go up logarithmically instead of just doubling.
Yeah,
We're going to go
yeah, right.
all the way out.
Yep.
So, but so he's having a really bad week so far. This is really a high degree of misery. I think folks, do not count on this to take him out or take him down, but you should assess it as something that is really going to hurt him logistically, operationally, and most of all in his own head spiritually, because he can't just walk out and go play golf on a nice spring day.
Right.
He's stuck. So speaking of stuck, over in the House of Representatives, we have Mike Johnson right now, who has two, and that's all it takes, idiots right now preparing to once again do a motion to vacate Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie. Guys, I've stopped trying to pretend that I get how Republicans in the House think anymore, other than they always, like lemmings seek a death, will plunge over the cliff. Where do you guys think that stands? Stuart, let's start with you.
Look, I just, the whole thing, the idea that history is hinging on Marjorie Taylor Greene is such a disturbing notion. You know, I
Right.
mean, this woman that you wouldn't sit next to on a plane, um,
Sure.
and this is historic stuff. I mean, these are moments that are going to be studied. There's a hint in history moment between what's happening in Israel, what's happening in Ukraine,
Yep.
um, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is in the middle of it. It's just extraordinary that the
Mm-hmm.
party has been reduced to this level.
Right.
That someone like that could have influence. But what I want to. What do you guys think is going to happen on Ukraine? Do you think they're going to bring it up to a straight up vote?
Here's
What?
what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to
Yeah.
play screw around with it, and then they're going to say, well, it's amendable, which means the Senate bill will not get considered. Which, the Senate bill has been passed. It's a good bill. It's
Right.
ready to roll. And what I'm afraid of is they're going to go in and play screw around with it and say, okay, well, we'll put a Ukraine bill on the floor, and then the crazies will load it up with every
Right.
poison pill they can think of. That's my fear.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. And I look. The real question here is Democrats going to uh, bail him out or not? Bail
Mm-hmm.
Johnson out, and I don't think so for the first vote or two. I mean, in other words, why not put Jeffries up, and whether he loses by a vote or it's a tie doesn't matter.
Right.
Johnson won't have the votes if the Republicans don't. If he loses two Republican votes, which looks like what's going to happen if it
That
goes
looks
that
like
way.
the outcome right now.
Right. So let that happen once or twice, and then decide if you're going to bail them out or not. But like, just demonstrate to the country how insane the Republican caucus is, that they have the majority and they can't, and Johnson cannot run the House. I still
No.
think there's a really weird chance that Jeffries could come out the speaker out of all this if they
Joe, I don't think it's as weird as you think, man. I think it's maybe like a 40% chance right now.
yeah, which is huge. I mean, huge when you
Huge.
Crazy,
I
crazy.
don't. I've always been fascinated in a storytelling sense by the fact that you don't have to be a member of the House to be Speaker of the House. So
Right?
any human who is of age to be president and qualified to be president, right? That's the
Yep.
only qualification, right? You could be walking down, Bourbon Street one day, and the next your third line to the president. And if ever there was like a scenario that they would have some compromise candidate. If there was some really charismatic business person out there or
Sure.
charismatic military leader out there,
Yep.
I mean, if I was in there, I would put like Petraeus or somebody out there, and
Mark
just make them
Cuban.
vote against him. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, somebody with a sense of like presence and popularity, because I do think that they have no. I think that's one thing that the Republicans have actually really lost the thread on here, is that Mike Johnson is like a black hole of charisma. He's not somebody that anyone looks to and goes, "That's a leader I want to follow into the gunfire. That's a guy I want to go over
Watch
the
him.
top of the trench with."
Turn off the
Yeah,
sound
but
and just watch him.
the
You
problem here
know,
is Mark
so
Cuban
weak.
would be their worst nightmare as a speaker. I mean, in terms of because he would just be
Sure.
straight up and down on all this
Yep.
stuff. I'm not sure we'd all agree with him on everything, but there would be no games. It would be,
That's right.
he would call it straight up and down. They don't. They clearly don't want that. You know.
Well, I
No,
do think
they're
there's
more likely to
I think there's
nominate
a
like
degree of
Aaron
like
Rodgers.
I think there's a degree of like the Republicans in the swing districts right now. They know they're behind the curve. They know they're behind the eight ball. All those 18 Biden Republicans have realized, like there was polling out today, that in those districts, Ukraine aid is incredibly popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those 18 districts, which folks will be hammering those people, especially because that that decision is something incredibly important for the world and the country, and for Biden as president. If Joe Biden is able to help execute the defeat of Russia, which will happen if we get Ukraine the aid it needs,
Yeah.
he becomes a world historical figure at a scale that nobody, including him, nobody expected he would be in that position. If Ukraine is victorious against Russia here with our help and the help of the world, you're going to see the payoff of Biden's foreign policy leadership, which you saw over the weekend
Yep.
by assembling this amazing alliance of U.S., Saudi, Jordanian, Iraqi, Israeli, and British forces to take out Iran's drone fleet. That was a moment that didn't happen because he called people up and yelled at them, or he said that you need to pay me much more money, like Trump would have done. He did the diplomacy and the leadership. So I think that these guys are going to be in a position on the Ukraine aid vote where there may be the votes with those 18, especially if they're looking at the same polling that we're seeing out there, which shows that basically 2/3 of the voters in their districts wanted to vote to help Ukraine.
Yep. Absolutely. They're in
Yeah,
trouble.
I've tried without success, but I think there would be a great move if the Ukrainians would send over um, some veterans or parents of a veteran or spouses of veterans
Sure.
and go to these conservative districts and offer to speak at the Rotary clubs, offer to speak at the Kiwanis Club,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
and offer
Yep.
to speak at high school graduations and at high school assemblies.
Yeah.
And, these are incredibly moving stories. These are heroic people. This is exactly the sort of stuff that small towns and all across America you love. I mean, how many
Yeah.
statues are there to Medal of Honor winners? Um, and, I just go back to this. If you could bring alive everybody who fell in Europe defending freedom, all the Americans that are buried in Europe, and ask them how they would vote, you think they'd vote for Putin? I mean,
Yeah, I mean
it's
that
sort of
really is the
nuts.
choice right now that they're facing is like
Yeah.
we've got a fight in Ukraine that has historical implications, and the fact that a dozen people in the country are holding it up, all because Donald Trump wants to help Vladimir Putin, it blows my damn
Yeah.
mind, guys.
Yeah. I mean, again, you guys remember when I was on the ground in Ukraine,
Sure.
in between Crimea and this invasion,
Yeah.
and I posted that shot of a incredible not billboard. It was even bigger. It was on a side of a building in Victory Square uh, that said "Freedom is our religion."
Yeah.
That was in Kiev, and that's what's so amazing about these people. That's what is driving Ukraine, Zelensky, and the people there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we're fighting for. That's what Biden's putting put the coalition in place to continue to do this. And this is what Mike Johnson and Trump and the cult in the House
Yep.
are blundering through because of their fealty to Putin and to Trump, I guess. But it's just mind blowing that we have a country where freedom is their religion, which, by the way, I think was pretty much a good part of the religion of our founders uh, who
Yeah, it pretty
started
much
the
was.
country, and to see this party just and Reagan and I mean all the people that have come in this party that was supposedly something that was their religion too, but no, it's not. Now Putin and Trump are the religion. That's the crazy thing that's
For
just
sure.
that fathoms me. I just
Yeah,
don't
I
get
mean,
it.
look, think about it. If if there had been more Mike Johnsons around in 1776, we'd still be celebrating the Queen's birthday. There's no
Right.
way Mike Johnson is going to take on the most powerful army in the history of the world for the sake of a slim chance of freedom and independence. I mean, it's just such a betrayal of what it means to be an American that they're doing.
Yep.
Um, and you just got to hope that at the end of the day, the will of the majority of the people is gonna come through here. This is going to be one of the historic tragedies of
Yeah.
you know it will dominate this century.
Yep. So we've got a question from the audience. Scott asks, what drives these pro-Russian GOP people, stupidity or compromat? Guys, it's neither. Most of them are willing participants in this. Most of them want to back Putin because he is an authoritarian who reflects the values of the MAGA party. And they believe things like there are no gays in Russia. There are no women in power in Russia. And they're right about those things. And they think of those things as better than America.
Yeah.
That's as short an answer as I can get to.
Yeah, Putin is at war with the modern world, and so is that element of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Putin is literally at war to turn history back to the Soviet
Mm-hmm.
Union,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a hard thing for I think a lot of people to grasp what you're saying, Rick. That they look at Russia and they say we like this. They
Yeah.
all call themselves Christians.
Yeah.
That there's just this anti-decadence world,
Right.
uh, and there's no women in power. There's no non-white people in power. They have elections that are performative, not decisive. They go,
Right.
we kind of like that. That's pretty much the world they want to live in.
Scary. It really is. All right, let's get another question. Possibility Trump could be sent to jail. Honestly, guys, I don't think Trump's ever going to jail. Okay? I think at the end of the day, no judge is going to send him to a prison and put him in isolation. I think he might get house arrest at Mar-a-Lago for X number of years or months or whatever the term is. But I just don't see how you put a Secret Service protectee for life, inside a prison.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I just don't think. I frankly, I still would be, am still one of the skeptics about whether we actually have a trial that actually comes to conclusion between now and November. Even though this one is
Yeah.
going to start, um, but he's going to throw up every delay tactic under the sun.
God
Uh,
knows they spent a lot of money to delay this.
yeah,
All right.
so
Yeah,
look, I don't think
Go
we
ahead,
can
Stu.
count on anything other than us. I mean, we've got to go out there. We've got to
Got to go beat
raise
him.
the money. We've got to attack,
Yep.
push back on every piece of disinformation out there,
100%.
and organize and do it all because you can't count on. And there's still the chance that there's one juror on this when this is all played out. That there's a juror on this trial. Uh, that
Sure.
said, that's in his, that basically the guy who said, I mean, I'm not passing judgment yet. Look, we'll see how this trial goes. But, when you have member of the jury saying how he finds Trump mysterious and
But
exciting.
mysterious and fascinating.
Fascinating, yeah. It's a little bit like, I don't know.
That makes me that one gave me a little bit of like,
Yeah. Yeah,
ugh.
no, I'm not saying like hopefully like look, I believe in our system. So, but I also know I had gotten Gil Garcetti elected. I
Right.
mean, I worked on his campaign, got him elected just in time for him to catch the O.J. Simpson trial. And so I was through, I mean, literally, you'd walk in the courtroom, people were spitting on you. I mean, I saw how the country saw the same facts in two different ways. I mean, it was pretty amazing to be part of that. I mean, going through Rockingham,
Sure.
at the site on Bundy Drive, um, but through it all, just seeing how every single fact was seen totally differently by through the eyes of the voter or the
100%.
people out there. And I just worry that this could be the same kind of thing where we get
Yeah,
that
I think
46% that will be
you know.
seeing this as every way they can, Trump's view, and everybody else seeing it the other way.
Right.
And to think that one juror on this trial,
Yeah.
isn't
Well, look,
just like,
isn't the greatest danger here that um, he's not found guilty, and then it becomes a sort of what's the word metaphor for the other trials, so that he can say this is the weakest case I think of these trials, and you could say, well, they're never going to find me. This is a witch hunt.
Right.
I sat through this. We sat there for 6 weeks. They listened. They didn't find it. These other trials are going to be the same way. And these other trials aren't going to go to completion. Although I think there is some chance that the DOJ trial could. But
Possibly.
I don't know, man. I just go back. Would you rather be sitting in Biden headquarters or in Trump headquarters? You
Listen,
know,
there is no doubt you would much rather have Joe
oh
Biden's
yeah,
position right now. Money, resources, time, all of that is something that Trump would trade in a shot. He
yeah.
would
yeah.
trade for that in a minute.
And Biden can be out there every day pounding on issues that matter to the American people, while Donald Trump has to stand outside the courthouse and one more time say, "This is a witch hunt."
It's
It's
big. It's a witch
and,
hunt. Blah, blah,
yeah,
blah.
woe is
Yeah,
me.
and look, he's in Pennsylvania now. If you look at what happened yesterday, you can make a good case that what happened with this defense of Israel
Mm-hmm.
is one of the best days the West has had in a long time.
Yeah,
You know that
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 was pretty
No,
amazing.
no doubt about it. No
it,
And
doubt
it
about it.
was Biden and our diplomats and our military leading that
yeah.
thing, leading the coalition.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
And we all know Trump would have been all over the damn place.
Oh, of course.
Like,
Somebody asked why isn't Sleepy Don? Lisa asked why isn't Sleepy Don trending? It was yesterday, and I'm sure that it will probably trend again because he is. It's interesting because I don't think Trump ever wants to be somewhere where he's bored. And right now, in a weird way, even though this is very
That's a
consequential,
really good point.
he's bored. He doesn't
Yeah.
have the attention span to stick it out and pay attention and do the trial as a participant. He's a passenger and he's bored and he's going to hate it. And that's why he's going to get more and more pissy and angry and weird, I
oh,
think, as we go forward.
I can't wait though till Michael Cohen and these other witnesses come in and to get Trump. You know what Trump's going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
like after those people talk on the stand. I mean, right now we're just sort of seeing him come out and do the hoax and Biden. Biden did this thing, but wait till he has to see, Stormy
Oh,
Daniels, all of them up there.
it's going
It's
to be
He's
phenomenal.
not going to be able to hold it together. There's no
No,
frick.
he won't be able to keep himself under control. So, well, folks, it has been a great evening once again. Fastest half hour in television. Thank you for all the kind wishes about the gimpy paw. But I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. We're going to play you guys out with a clip from Bob Costa, who absolutely just tore the living hell out of Trump. Let's play that out, and we'll see you guys again next time.
Take care, everyone.
He is by far the most disgraceful figure in modern presidential history. He's only become more disgraceful since 2016 and since 2020. He is a bubbling cauldron of loathsome traits, and it's only those who are actually suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, which is the way they and Fox News and all the rest of MAGA media try to brush aside all the legitimate criticisms of Trump. You have to be in the throes of some sort of toxic delusion in a toxic cult to believe that Donald Trump has ever been, in any sense, emotionally, psychologically, intellectually, or ethically fit to be president of the United States. But his supporters are locked in on that. There is no cult of Joe Biden.